Lord forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack making backflip. Telly Hank did with the action. With the Vato speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby Maine. Just caught a touchdown from the Bay.
He testified agents intercepted a phone call where McGee asked him to bring a kilo of cocaine. The camera showed Hill driving up a short time later and her 15-year-old daughter carrying the cocaine to the house.
On the morning of March 31st, 2024, the streets of Mobile, Alabama were calm. The spring air was warm, the kind of quiet that made everything feel normal. On Harvey Court, Tierra Hill would step out her front door, keys in hand, ready to start her day. As she would hop in her car and drive off, the sound of her engine was the only thing breaking the silence of the streets. To her, it was just another morning, nothing out of the ordinary. But down the road, things were already in motion. Officers sat in position, waiting. And when Tierra's car rolled past, the plan shifted into gear. Minutes later, flashing red and blue lights appeared in her rearview mirror. She pulled over, maybe wondering, had she been speeding, or wondering if she had a broken tail light. She didn't know it, but this stop was anything but routine. The search would be quick and deliberate, as officers would move with purpose. As they called in for the K9 unit, searching every inch of her car, they would find it. 1.5 kilograms of cocaine, a small amount of marijuana, and a handgun. As Tierra sat on the curb, watching it all played out, the weight of the moment would begin to set in. And back on Harvey Court, her quiet house wouldn't stay that way for long. With a search warrant in hand, officers stepped inside. 4 children were there, left alone, unaware of exactly what was going on, with the oldest being 15, but it would be the youngest, a 3-year-old wearing a backpack that would eventually become the focal point of the search.
A 3-year-old found with a backpack full of cocaine. The Mobile County Sheriff's Office arrested a mom Saturday after finding thousands of dollars worth of drugs in her car and her home. WKRG News 5's Haley Kennedy joins us, and Haley, 4 children were at that home with the drugs, including that toddler.
Yeah, Asher, deputies say that the 3-year-old was wearing a backpack with about 2 kilograms of cocaine inside of it. Now, this is Tierra Hill. She was arrested during a traffic stop Saturday. When they pulled her over, they found what we are showing you right now, about 1.5 kilograms of cocaine, some marijuana, and a handgun. After arresting Hill, investigators and agents with Aaliyah conducted a search warrant on her home. That's where they found the 3-year-old with the backpack full of cocaine. They also found another kilo of cocaine and 2 more handguns inside of another backpack, totaling about $450,000 worth of narcotics. Now, Sheriff Paul Birch says keeping these drugs inside of a house with children ranging from 3 to 15 years old is not just a poor parenting decision.
I think she made a deliberate decision to go right around with substantial amounts of drugs and a firearm in her car and leave her children home unattended with even more cocaine and more guns. So that's a deliberate action. That's not a poor decision.
Says DHR is now involved concerning the well-being of the kids. Hill is charged with trafficking cocaine, possession of marijuana, tampering with physical evidence, and 4 counts of chemical endangerment of a child. Reporting in the studio, Haley Kennedy, WKRG News 5.
And new tonight at 5, an ex-con facing significant federal drug charges accused of running an enterprise in Mobile and it involved cocaine and fentanyl.
The indictment is connected to a case we've been following involving a child's backpack full of cocaine. Our investigative reporter, Brendan Kirby, has been combing through the indictment and property records. He's live at the Breaking News Center.
Yeah, and Brendan, you talked about this earlier this week, that there were indications the case was going federal.
Yeah, that's right, Lenise and Shelby, and it sure has. We still don't know everything because a good portion of that indictment remains blacked out, but we do know that there are multiple defendants and that the allegations involve drug sales totaling 7 figures. Glennie Antonio McGee's legal problems just got a whole lot worse. Already facing drug trafficking charges in state court, he now faces federal charges that could result in a life prison sentence. McGee, who the indictment says goes by the name Little Man, is one of 2 federal defendants who have been identified. The rest remain secret. His lawyer in the related state case, Jason Darley, says he's not yet examined the evidence in the federal case.
Now, obviously, it's an indictment. I mean, those are allegations at this point. As we had talked before, you know, he was arrested in state court, but there was a marshal's hold on him pretty early on, so we knew that meant something was coming from the federal court here in Mobile.
A criminal complaint in state court alleges that McGee was responsible for cocaine found in the Harvey Court home of Tierra Hill, including in the backpack of Hill's 3-year-old child. Hill has been charged in the state case, but hasn't been named in the federal indictment. The federal indictment doesn't mention the backpack, but charges McGee with using a person younger than 18 in drug operations and lists the date, March 30th, the same date that Mobile County Sheriff's deputies raided Hill's home. The other publicly identified federal defendant is McGee's wife, Achanza Dianca Maxey. She owns a business on Rochelle Street in Mobile called Belle & Beau Boutique. The indictment seeks a money judgment against McGee for $1.68 million, along with 3 high-end cars, a lot of jewelry, and other items that are blacked out in the indictment. It also seeks a forfeiture order against homes McGee owns throughout the city. That includes his personal home, an undeveloped lot in western Mobile County, and 7 other houses. McGee and Hill are supposed to have a preliminary hearing on Monday in state court, but it's not clear if that will still happen now that there's a federal indictment.
Because the allegations overlap, a lot of times the state won't elect to prosecute because the time is more significant in federal court if a conviction is sought or obtained. So I mean, it's just early on right now. We don't even know all of the parties in it. A lot of the indictment is blacked out, so it's just really early.
I reached out to Hill's lawyer and Mobile County District Attorney Keith Blackwood, but haven't heard back from either. I also talked briefly with Achanza Maxey, but she declined to comment. She and McGee are expected to be arraigned in federal court in the coming days. Reporting live in the News Center, Brendan Kirby, Fox 10.
And just when you think it can't get no worse, your courier gets knocked, you lose 5 keys, $450,000 in street profit, gone. And if that ain't enough, the feds end up on your line, all because of it. But keys, kids, and guns? Oh, it gets worse.
Some new information right now into our newsroom about a drug case that drew national headlines. Prosecutors presenting new evidence against Glennie Antonio McGee during a hearing that would consider whether he should be allowed out of jail pending trial. McGee is accused of running a drug ring that came to light when the Mobile County Sheriff's Office found a 3-year-old with a book bag full of drugs during a raid in March. Prosecutors allege the child's mother, Tierra Hill, was one of McGee's couriers. According to testimony today, that was not an isolated incident. A federal agent testifying McGee used several children as couriers. He said investigators installed a camera on a pole showing people coming and going from the home of McGee's mother. He testified agents intercepted a phone call where McGee asked him to bring a kilo of cocaine. The camera showed Hill driving up a short time later and her 15-year-old daughter carrying the cocaine to the house. The judge indicated that she will make a decision later this week. McGee has been indicted under a rarely invoked federal law that is sometimes referred to as the Kingpin Statute.
So y'all imagine this one. You just chilling, out the way, running your drug distribution organization for nearly a decade with no hiccups. And then boom, you're national news because the people found a 3-year-old with a backpack full of your work. Damn. I say that to say this case brings me back to a statement that I've probably made in several episodes prior. Just imagine running a multi-million-dollar company without running background checks. Now, before I go into the importance of background checks, especially in this type of situation here, I want to show you why Antonio Glennie McGee should have known better and how fast the ball rolls after it drops. Now, long before this investigation, in August of 2006, Antonio Glennie McGee would be arrested for possession with the intent to distribute crack cocaine, which would later lead to him pleading guilty to that charge 3 months later in November of 2006, which would lead the government to sentence him to 121 months, or the equivalent to 10 years in prison. After having some time knocked off that original sentence, he would be released early, serving in and about 8 to 9 years. And it would be immediately following his release where the government would allege that he would start one of the most lucrative year-by-year drug organizations that the city of Mobile, Alabama has seen in the past 5 decades, bringing us to the fateful date of August 1st, 2024, when law enforcement officers in Mobile would execute a search warrant at a residence on Harvey Court, when during the course of that search, they would find a 3-year-old child was carrying a blue Nike backpack containing approximately 2 kilograms of cocaine. His mother, Tierra Hill, would be charged with trafficking cocaine, possession of marijuana in the 2nd degree, tampering with physical evidence, on top of 4 counts of chemical endangerment of a child. To the normal eye, that probably should have been the end of it. Just another case of a neglectful drug kingpin mother. But I'm thinking law enforcement might have dug a little deeper and went into her phone, because less than 3 months after Tierra Hill's arrest, Antonio Glennie McGee would be indicted on federal drug charges that would include conspiracy to possess with the intent to distribute controlled substances, with the indictment being directly linked back to the discovery and seizure of the 2 kilograms in Tierra Hill's 3-year-old son's backpack. And after going over the dates and details of the case and knowing how smart y'all are from the comment box, I almost don't feel a need to go into why drug organizations should implement background checks. But I will anyway, using this case in Tierra Hill as an example. Now, I'm not saying this to say that Tierra Hill is not a top-notch, exemplary employee, with Tierra Hill's son being found with a backpack of work, making this case national, as I'm sure there are busts that go on like this in a lot of cities across the nation. Maybe that might have been something that a background check might have uncovered. Y'all kind of understand what I'm saying? And how my mind works after digesting all of that information from the case, it brings me to the most compelling question, and something I definitely got to ask y'all in the comment box. Who, in the infamous words from Belly, had to drop a dime on them niggas? Was it A, a nosy neighbor? Was it B, a homegirl she fell out with? Or C, a baby daddy or bitter ex? I definitely need to know y'all answer to that and y'all take on this case. Y'all make sure y'all hit the red bell and subscribe button right under this video so y'all know when this real trill spill shit is dropping. Y'all get in the comment box below. Y'all let me know what cities we need to go to, what stories we need to tell, what we missed, what we got wrong, all of that. And y'all tapping with me directly on Instagram, Twitter, POP_A_LOT. Until our next jug, y'all know how we rocking. Shades Popalot. Salute the almighty MOBB.